Hey guys, good morning everyone. Good morning everyone. I hope I'm audible as well as visible. Am I? Perfect, great. Okay. Good morning, Sophia. Good morning. Good morning everyone. Good morning, Adarsh. Good morning. So I can see people are joining. Good morning, Shubham. Good morning, Sumit. Good morning, Ankit. Good morning, Shubham. Good morning. Good morning, Ashu. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Cyclone. Good morning, guys. Good morning. I can see only 22 students here. So where are rest of the people? Good morning, Shahan. Good morning, Manmohan. Good morning, BTech Bytes. Good morning, Vasu. Good morning, everyone. Perfect. I guess I am completely audible. Good morning, Arka. And I guess we can start our session. We will just wait 1 or 2 minutes for rest of the people to join, and then we will start our session. In the meantime, let me try to share my screen. Please let me know whether my screen is visible to all of you or not. Okay. Is it visible, guys? I think it should be visible to all of you, right? I am doing very well, Shubham. Thank you so much for asking. I hope all of you are doing very well. Sagar, good morning. Good morning, Teach Peace. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Perfect. I can still see only 29 students in the class, which is not the expected number. So I'm expecting much more than that. So we will wait not more than 1 or 2 minutes and we will start our JavaScript instantly. Guys, before we start our today's session, it's very important that we set up our expectations related to this JavaScript course and we try to understand what we have already discussed until now. First of all, we have already completed our two parts, one module, but two parts of this entire MERN course. That's HTML and CSS, right? And I think we have taken almost 10 lectures in it, 10 lectures of concept and 2 lectures of project, and we are still to do a project which we will do eventually in between of some this week or next week. Okay, now if any of you who do not know HTML and CSS properly, please go to this YouTube channel, this variable verse, and go over there and try to go through those videos before we start this JavaScript batch. Okay, and also now finally we are going to start our JavaScript from now on. So it becomes very important for us that if we are enough serious, we will stay up till end. At least this JavaScript is very important for all of you because entire MERN revolves around JavaScript. So make sure you stay up till end. You watch all the lectures live. Even if you have missed some lectures, you watch the recording later on. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat section as well. Okay. So shall we start our JavaScript? Guys, come on. Shall we start our JavaScript? I want every one of you to interact in the chat. There's only one rule that we have in this course, which is you have to be very much interactive during the course, during the classes. So, shall we start our class? Shall we finally start our JavaScript? Perfect. I can see 5 yeses only, not more than that. Why are the rest of the yeses? Perfect. I guess we can start our JavaScript. Okay. So let's not waste any more time. Although I am expecting more students to join, there are only 44 students. So any one of you, please put a message in the WhatsApp group and ask your WhatsApp mates to join as soon as they can. So we have a group. Any one of you, 2 3 people, please go to the WhatsApp group and ask over there people to join. Okay, let's start our JavaScript. Until now, we have discussed two things: HTML and CSS. And we have understood that whenever we talk about HTML and CSS and JavaScript, the entire agenda is to understand how to create websites, right? How to build a web application, whether we talk about static websites, whether we talk about dynamic websites, whether we talk about front end, whether we talk about back end. And that is the entire agenda of this entire course. That once we complete this particular course, I can guarantee you that all of you, whoever watches all the sessions, attempts all the assignments, and whose attendance is great more than 75%, they will be wonderful developers. They will know at least what they are dealing with when we talk in terms of MERN. Okay, that's the guarantee from my side. But when we say that we are here trying to create how to develop a website, we have to understand that website is divided into two parts, which we have already understood in our previous lectures: front end and back end. And our current focus is entirely on front end, right? And in front end, we have already completed one part of that, which is called static websites. How we can create static websites. Can any one of you in the chat tell me what's a static website and what is a dynamic website? Until now, we have learned two paradigms. Number one is called HTML, hypertext markup language. Another one is called CSS. Now, we know that when we talk about HTML, HTML is entirely for one thing, which is to create the structure, the content on our website. And CSS is simply to design the same content. And whenever we use HTML and CSS to create a website, we simply call such websites as static websites. Now, static websites are those websites that when they are live on the internet, you don't see that much change in it. There's no behavior inside that website, there's no interaction inside that website. But on the other hand, if you go on the internet and if you explore different types of websites, you will always and always see that there is dynamicality inside websites. And dynamicality is what makes websites wonderful, right? Now, when we say dynamicality, what do we mean by that? And that is what our actual plan is, to understand how to put dynamicality inside our websites. That is the entire agenda of this JavaScript course. Okay. And then we will understand it with respect to a programming language as well as with respect to a backend language as well. But as of now, with respect to our front end, with respect to our websites, we must understand what do we mean by dynamicality. When a user goes on a website, okay, user can perform different actions on a website. It's all about actions. For example, when we say action, we simply say a user can click on a button. We simply can say user can put a cursor on a button, on or an h1 tag, or on different things that you see on website. So when user goes on a website, for example, www.amazon.in or any other website, user can go and perform lot of actions. User can type over there on the website in any input field. User can double click on any item. User can scroll up, scroll down, scroll left, scroll right? And user can do XYZ operations on a website. Now, dynamicality means when any user performs such operation, and if my website is enough intelligent to respond to that action, we say our website have dynamicality in it. Let me repeat. Whenever user performs any operations, any actions on anywhere on the website, and our website is enough intelligent so that website responds to those actions and does changes, manipulations inside the website, we say such websites have dynamicality inside it. And the most important thing that we need to understand is that in order to make our website that much intelligent, we need a logical language. And that logical language is called JavaScript. Now, I won't go to JavaScript directly. Okay, I won't talk about JavaScript directly because I am pretty much sure there are a lot of students who do not even know what programming is, in the first place. So let's try to jump a little bit back and let's actually try to understand why we need a programming language. All of you, if you have done a little bit research as well, you would definitely say JavaScript is a programming language. Yes, it has a lot of other definitions. We will talk about that: interpreted, single threaded, synchronous. We will go to that. But as of now, the first basic definition is that JavaScript is a programming language. Can any one of you tell me what a programming language is? Anyone? Let's understand what a programming language is. Why do we create websites, first of all? Or why do we create any application? Because we have an idea in our mind. Because of that idea, we are trying to solve some problem and we simply shape that problem solution using a website. Now, when we say our entire agenda is to solve a problem, when we say we have to solve a problem, what do we use? We use logic. Let's talk about a very simple problem here. Let's suppose I want to perform an operation of two things. Let's suppose I want to do an addition of 2 plus 3. Like if I ask you, tell me in the chat, what is 2 plus 3 by the way? Of course, you will say, sir, 5. But how do we know it's 5? Because we have logic in our mind. I know when I add 2 plus 3, it will become 5. So the problem that I am trying to solve requires actually logic. And that logic is how you can write with help of that programming language. You need a language with help of which you can actually let your machine, computer in this case, know to solve this problem, how a computer can solve a problem. And for that we need a language, and such languages are called programming language. Now you can, of course, we know that it's a set of instructions to perform a particular task, that in a particular order, sequence, all that things. I don't go there. Okay, I simply talk about logic as of now. Okay, so JavaScript is similarly a similar programming language in which we will write our instructions, and our goal will be eventually to solve a problem. Now, how we can solve that problem, what will be the steps inside it? In order to write those steps, we have a specific grammar, we have a specific syntax, and that syntax is actually called JavaScript. So JavaScript is nothing but a programming language with help of which we will solve our problems. Now, when we try to solve our problems, and if we try to relate it with our websites, so our website now, in order to solve a problem, needs logic in it, and that logic is our dynamicality. To our actions, it will respond, and that is done by a JavaScript. Now, when we say one thing, guys, simply let me know in the chat. Let's leave programming language. Let's suppose we don't know what computers are. You and me, we are right now communicating through a common medium, which is English. I am from Kashmir. Let's suppose I will suddenly start speaking Kashmiri. Maybe few of you might understand. Will all of you understand what I'm trying to say? Of course not. Right? So we need to understand that language is something with help of which we can communicate to each other, and we can actually convey what needs to be conveyed. Right? But when we say we are using a programming language or any kind of language, what is the first thing? What is the first thing that comes in your mind? The first thing that comes in your mind related to language are a proper syntax, a proper grammar. Like you learn English when we are children, right? At that point of time, we go through tenses, different things, and that's what you need to learn about JavaScript. You need to understand the purpose of JavaScript. You need to understand how you can write it, and what are the different things in your mind that you have to keep, and you will be a very good JavaScript developer. JavaScript is one of the most popular programming language right now in the world, and also one of the easiest and the most beautiful programming language in the world. So if you are not able to understand JavaScript, it means you are losing the dedication, nothing else. There's a lot of content already available on internet. You can learn JavaScript wonderfully on different programming channels. But one very important point now that we will do, we will try to understand this JavaScript in a proper particular manner, and that too I will try to make it as easy as I can. Okay, let's focus now on JavaScript. Let's come back. First of all, give me a yes or no in the chat. Are we clear what programming languages are? Simply a language with help of which we can communicate with computer in order to solve a problem. That's it. So to write these solutions, we write programming. We do programming. That's it. Am I clear? Very good. Let's focus on JavaScript now. Let's set up our expectations. I told you that before we even start our JavaScript, we have to set up our expectations. When we say we have to learn JavaScript, JavaScript can be learned studied in a two way over here. Number one is we can understand it as a programming language. Separately as a programming language, we will not relate it with our websites, and we can learn JavaScript properly. Second thing is we can learn it with respect to websites, which means from day one, we can actually understand each and every concept while we are relating it with websites. As of now, we will start it with this. We will try to understand the basic syntax, basic grammar, and how JavaScript works behind the scenes with help of a programming language. But our goal actually will be this. This is what our goal is. We will learn JavaScript as a programming language, but our goal will be to actually later on implement same JavaScript inside websites so that we can actually create a type of website that's called dynamic websites. So that's what our goal is. Okay, and your goal should be the same as well, to create wonderful dynamic websites. Later on, JavaScript will be actually implemented inside our back end as well, and we will have same syntax, same grammar over there. We will just have to go through different terminologies, that's it. But it will be, rest of the things will be same. So next 3 to 4 weeks for all of you related to this MERN course is going to be the crucial phase. And if you successfully complete this crucial phase, I can guarantee you, you will be a wonderful MERN developer. Wonderful. That's a guarantee from my side. But make sure you do not miss any of the classes in next 4 to 5 weeks, and you ask questions continuously. We have a doubt session group as well on WhatsApp. Maybe I might have not shared a link for that to all the new students. We have a doubt session group as well. I will share that in the WhatsApp group later on. Sir, programming language deal with operating system. So same here, JavaScript will do. No. JavaScript as of now, since we have not gone through the introduction what JavaScript does, as of now, just remember, Ashu, JavaScript deals with the logic of a website as of now. Although it does 100 other things. But we will go through JavaScript. We will try to understand what it does one by one. Don't worry about it. Okay. So I hope our expectation is clear. We will understand it as a programming language. We will start it with a programming language. Then our goal will be to create websites so that we can create dynamic websites. That is the goal for front end. And later on, we will move to back end and so on and so forth. So finally, let's start our JavaScript. Let's not waste any more time, and let's try to understand what JavaScript is. Shall we start, guys? I want every one of you to give me a quick confirmation in the chat so that we can finally start what JavaScript is. Shall we start? Perfect. Let's start. Let's try to understand what JavaScript is. Okay. Guys, we understand from the website perspective, we have discussed this 100 times what JavaScript is. In order to put behavior in our website, in order to put interactivity in our website, in order to put functionality in our website, we need a logical language, and that is JavaScript. But let's go a little bit back over there. Let's try to understand history of JavaScript a little bit. In order to write JavaScript, we also say, before I say this statement, we also say JavaScript is called as language of the web, language of the internet. What do we mean by that? Language of the internet. In the earlier times, whenever we were supposed to write our JavaScript, there was only one way to write JavaScript. And that was JavaScript could be written only inside the browsers. That's it. You could not write JavaScript outside of browser. So if you wanted to see what your website is going through, and if you wanted to write some JavaScript on it, you must write that JavaScript inside browser. That's what used to happen before 2.12 or something like that. Okay. But then later on, since developers got to know how wonderful JavaScript programming language is and what it can do, they actually created a software. Then that's what we need to install first of all. And that is called Node.js. What is Node.js? First of all, every programming language needs to be executed. Let's suppose, guys, you have a problem and you wrote answer to it. In order to see whether that answer, whatever instructions you have typed, whether it is correct or not, what do you need to do? You need to execute it. Which means, in which programming language you write the answer, there must be someone who can understand that programming language, who can understand that programming language. It's not like I am writing JavaScript and my computer will directly understand it. Computer eventually understands zeros and ones, right? So we need some intermediator in between who can understand JavaScript properly and then can make my computer understand it properly. And that's what we call as environment. That's what we call as engine. Okay. And in back and in Node.js, we will actually understand this properly, what this Node.js engine is. As of now, you just need to understand, in order to execute your JavaScript outside of browsers, you must understand Node.js. You must install Node.js. So please and please, I request all of you right now to go on the internet, and the first thing that you will do actually is you will install your Node.js. That's it. So the first thing that you will do before even understand the single concept of JavaScript, you must install this Node.js. So let me put this link in the chat. Okay, although I already have it installed, so I don't need to install this. So please go to this website and try to install it. I guess I'm pretty much sure most of you already might have installed it already. Okay, so install it. Once you download it, open it, click on next, 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 next. I think you already know how to install software. You can install it properly there. Okay, but let's suppose you have installed it, or let's suppose even you have not installed it. What's the first statement that I said in JavaScript? The first statement related to JavaScript was the JavaScript is a programming language that was only executable in browsers. Okay. Do we know what JavaScript right now is? No, we don't know what JavaScript is. Yes, we know one fact related to JavaScript, which is it's a programming language. That's it. Now, what do we do with programming language? We will solve problems. That's it. So, even before letting you the exact definition of JavaScript, I will not go to definition of JavaScript. Even I am pretty much sure that we will discuss the definition of JavaScript in the third or fourth class. So the first goal that we will actually try to achieve here is we will try to be familiar. We will get familiar with JavaScript. So we will try to learn some syntaxes over there. So I am not going to teach you JavaScript, what JavaScript is. The first thing is we will try to learn ABCs of JavaScript. And then eventually, once I get to know that you already know some of the ABCs of JavaScript, then we will understand JavaScript, how it needs to be understood. Okay. So let's jump directly to the first concept of our JavaScript, which is basic constructs in our JavaScript. Okay. Basic constructs. Let's solve a problem. Give me any problem in the chat, whatever problem you are trying to solve. Let's suppose I want to perform, as we already did it, I want to perform an addition of two numbers. So let's suppose 2 plus 4. So everyone, if in your browser you want to execute your JavaScript, you will right click on your browser, go to inspect, and over here there's console. Now, what is this console? We will talk about that later on. But as of now, you can clearly see there is some editor here and you can type something in it. So this is the editor while you will write your coding, while you will write your JavaScript. As of now, since a lot of you have not maybe installed your Node.js, so that's why I'm going to start from here. So in inspector, or you can directly click on F12 and console will open for you. Now let's suppose we are trying to solve an operation, an arithmetic operation. Let's suppose for me, the first and basic program is I want to perform an addition or I want to create a calculator. So what will I do? I will simply say 2 plus 3, enter, it will give me 5. Simple. If I write 5 into 4, it will give me 20. If I write 5 divided by 4, it will give me 1.25, right? Something like that. So we can at least, as of now, conclude that this editor that I opened, it knows what logic is. It knows if I do 2 plus 3, how it's going to perform it, right? It knows when I write 5 into 4, how it becomes 20. So this editor is intelligent enough to actually perform a logic on its own. Very good. But will we write our coding in this editor? No. Remember in the first class when I taught you what websites are, I told you they are nothing but bunch of files stored on an server. Which means when I write JavaScript in any file, it must be a file of our own, saved on a server so that we can execute it. Yes or no? So it must be a file. So we need to write the same JavaScript in a file, and we will create that eventually. But a simple question to all of you. I want to perform an operation. So 2 plus 3. What's the logic behind it? So for this console, it knows directly what 2 plus 3 is. But for my file, a file that I will create, they don't know what 2 plus 3 is unless and until I execute it. Over here, when I write 2 plus 3, it knows I have to execute it. That's why it gives me 5. So there is a compiler. There is some person over here who is executing it. No, I don't need variable. Why would I say variable directly? No, Manmohan. So in order to perform an operation, the first and most important thing is we have to store it inside our memory, inside our brain. Like for example, let me give a simple scenario. I'm asking you a question. Hey, tell me what is 5 into 4? If this message is not stored in your brain, will you be able to give me an answer to this? Of course not. Of course not. So we need to understand the first and the thumb rule of every single problem is to understand how we can access a memory inside that particular computer or inside that particular program. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? The most and the beautiful thing over here that we need to keep in our mind is in order to solve any problem, whatever the problem is, the first and the most important thing is the program should be saved inside memory. Whatever things I am using inside it, it must be saved inside memory, because from memory computer will access them and try to do the manipulations. But if you do not store it inside memory, you won't be able to do any kind of thing. Now, in order to store inside our memory, what's the first and the most important thing? Let me give a simple scenario here. Okay, let's try to understand the most important thing in programming. This is the most important thing. Let's suppose this is my memory. Okay, this is my memory. Let's suppose I am performing an operation called as 2 plus 3. Now, in order to perform this operation, 2 must be stored somewhere. Let's suppose from over here. 3 must be stored somewhere. Suppose over here. And when I try to execute it, of course, its answer will be stored somewhere. Let's suppose over here, right? Now, tell me one thing. In order to see what is the answer in the output, what do I need to do? I need to somehow tell it, go inside the memory and find this particular memory slot. Access this memory slot and get the value out of it. Yes or no? Inside my memory slot, get the value out of it. But how can you access this memory slot? How can we access this memory slot? Do we have a direct solution to this? No, we don't have, because similar to this memory slot, there are thousands, millions of other memory slots, depends on the architecture. So we must understand one thing, that is, while assigning these particular memory slots to these values, we must label them. We must label them. By labeling, I mean we must assign an identifier to it. We must give them a name. For example, to this memory slot, I will give it a name result. To this memory slot, I will give it a name num1. To this memory slot, I will give it a name num2. So these are called identifiers. Now, if you give identifiers to your memory slot, don't you think by calling the same identifier later on, you can access the same memory slots? Yes or no? Yes or no? Am I clear? And such concepts inside our programming, the first basic construct inside our programming is called variables. Okay, is called variables. Now, some of you who know JavaScript already a little bit even as well, they might say, what is Adfar sir doing? We don't even know what JavaScript is, and we are going to variables. There's a reason behind that, because to understand the main agenda, main behind the scenes structure of JavaScript, we need to understand first of all few basic structs. Once we understand that, then we will go actually and learn what JavaScript is. So as of now, if anyone asks you what's JavaScript, simply say we don't know anything, but we know how to create some syntaxes, we know how to create some basic constructs. So the first concept that we have inside our programming, the first basic construct is called variables. Now, variables are nothing but containers of memory slots in which we will simply try to put our data. What do we mean by data, by the way? Anyone? What do we mean by data? What do we mean by data? Anyone? Do we have any idea about data? Simply some facts with which we have to deal with. In order to solve a problem, there will be data involved. Now it's not necessary it will be numbers. Yes, in our problem when we do 2 plus 3 it was a number, but data is something with which we are actually interested in to actually solve our problem. It can be numbers, it can be alphabets, it can be true false, it can be anything, bunch of data, any type of data, set of information, it can be anything. Okay, but as of now let's focus on variables. Now, in order to define a variable, create a memory slot inside our JavaScript, there are three keywords that we use. Now, what do we mean by keywords over here? Okay, keywords are such entities in every programming language which have a specific meaning to the compiler. And what's compiler? That executes the code and makes it understand to the computers. Okay, I will talk about that, Sagar. Allow me some time. So keywords are such entities in every programming language that have specific meaning to that particular programming language, which means that if you write that keyword and try to execute it, compiler, the engine that executes that programming language, will give a specific meaning to that particular word. So they are not normal words, they are specific, very very special keywords. Okay, now, variables, Sagar, if I have to tell it in a simple term, it's a container that stores our data so that we can access it, we can manipulate it, we can later change it, and we can delete it, whatever we want to do with that. It's a container in which we store our data. That's it. Okay. Now, the three keywords that we use to define our variables, number one is var, number two is let, number three is constant. So how many variables we have? Var, let, and constant. Which means when you write var, it has a special meaning to it. When we write let, it has a special meaning to it. When we write constant, it has a special meaning to it. But these are three keywords. But how do we create variables? We simply write if we use var keyword. And it's not like we will use all of these three keywords. We will use any one of them to define a memory slot in our memory to store our things. So we write var and then identifier name. What's an identifier, by the way? The name with which we will identify that memory slot so that we can access that. So you can write over here anything. Let's suppose var a, let b, constant c. So this a, b, c, it's a name. It is up to you. Whatever you want to give it. You want to write a, b, c, x, y, z. It cannot be a number. It cannot be 1, 2, 3. It cannot start with 1, 2, 3. It can be simply an alphabetic starting word over there. It can be even var adfar, let basit, constant something, seek something, right? So var a, let b, constant c. So these are identifiers. So these are three variables that I have defined. But how do we store value inside? We simply write equals to, equals to, equals. Let's suppose 10, 20, 30. So when we execute this particular code, it simply means one thing. I am defining a memory slot A inside memory in which I am letting it know to store 10. I am storing B inside memory store in memory slot in which I am letting it know to store 20, and similarly C is equals to 30. Let's go and let's try to explore all of these three things one by one using our coding. Okay, let's go here. Let's try to create a variable. So var a is equals to 10. Okay, and I will click enter. Once I created var a is equals to 10, something happened. We don't know what happened, but something happened. Now, if I simply tell it, hey, give me what a is, you can clearly see it returns 10. In a similar way, I will go let b is equals to 20. And if I simply tell give me b, it gives me 20. So constant c is equals to 30. And if I click enter, let it know give me c, you can clearly see c is equals to 30. Right? Very good. Let's not do any more coding in the console. Let me jump to my what is this called, our folder, and over here I will create a new folder in which we will do all of the coding related to JavaScript. Okay, so I will simply go here and let me create, open it inside our VS Code. If anyone is doing programming first time, this is the software that you need to install called as VS Code, in which you will write your code. Okay, let me create a file, because we know whatever coding we have to do, we have to create a file for it. So let me try to open this, and I will simply give it a name called as index.js. Whenever you have to write your JavaScript code, you must give it an extension called as .js, similar to HTML.html, similar to CSS.css. Okay, now over here, this is a simple file in which we will write our code and we will try to execute it. But right now, tell me one thing in the chat. Am I writing, if I write over here, let's suppose var a is equals to 10. Okay. Am I writing this var a is equals to 10 inside browser or outside of browser? What am I doing? Inside browser or outside of browser? Quickly. Of course, right? Very good. Outside of browser. And in order to execute any JavaScript code outside of browser, I made you install one software which is called Node.js. If you do not install Node.js, remember this code will not be executed inside your VS Code. So that's why you have to install Node.js. Make sure you do that. I request all of you to execute your, to install your Node.js first before we actually write our code inside VS Code. Let me write var a is equals 10. Now, in order to execute it, you can see a button here. Maybe for most of the students, you might not find this button here. For this, go in the extensions to this, click on here and install one of the extension called as Code Runner. But this Code Runner will work only under one condition, that is called if Node.js is installed. If Node.js is not installed, it will not work. So you have to install this Code Runner. Please make sure you install this to get a button here. Okay. Now see, let me try to execute it. So if I execute it, we don't see anything in the output. There's nothing in the output. You can see output window. There's nothing here. Why? Because the programming language that I have written here is simply I am letting it know to create a memory slot. That's it. I'm not asking it to actually give me something. I'm simply letting it know to create a memory slot. Now remember, inside the console, in order to see what is stored inside the memory, I actually passed it that variable and told it, give me what is inside it. So if I write B over here, click enter, it lets me know 20. In a similar way, in order to see and access anything anywhere in any memory slot, we use a statement called as console.log. Inside console, please log what the memory slot A. Now, when I write A over here, it simply means go to the memory slot A and tell me what is stored inside it. So if I execute it, you can clearly see 10. Okay, am I clear until now? What console.log means? Console.log simply means whatever I will type inside that bracket, console me, print me that. Okay, but what am I printing? I am printing A. But what is A? A is an identifier. A is a variable name. So it will go to the memory slot A and get the 10. Now, how this memory works, I will talk about that as well. What's heap memory? What is, different spaces inside JavaScript? We will talk about that later on. Okay. In a similar way, I will simply go define let b is equals to 20. Okay. And I will simply say console.log b. Done. And then finally, I will simply go write constant c is equals to 30. And if I simply go write console.log c, you can clearly see as soon as I execute it, it gives me 10, 20, 30. But I am not seeing a single question in the chat. Sir, if line number 1 is actually there declaring a memory slot in which I am storing 10, why do I need let keyword? Why do I need constant keyword? And what is the difference between var, let, and constant? I will talk about that, Sokjot, in 10 minutes. We can see on line number 1, line number 3, line number 5, all of them are doing same one functionality, which is they are all creating a memory slot inside that they are storing some data. But if line number 1 is capable of doing that, why there's a let keyword? Why there's a constant keyword? Why can't I do everything with just one keyword, whether it's var, let, or constant? There's a proper difference. There's a proper use cases of all of these things. And trust me, if I start discussing that, which we will eventually do, it will take more than 2 hours to just understand the difference between var, let, and constant. But in order to do that discussion, we must have a lot of prerequisites. We must understand how JavaScript executes its code, what scope is, and what different things is, which we will eventually do. As of now, we will just focus on one simple difference, one basic difference. When we talk about, let me try to remove this code. When we talk about var a, always remember variable is divided into two parts. Number one is variable declaration. Okay, variable declaration. And number two is variable initialization. Always in every programming language. It's not like in JavaScript only. There are two parts: variable declaration, variable initialization. I can go here inside this code and I can simply write var a is equals to like this. What does it mean? It means I have declared a variable. I have simply told it create a memory slot whose name is a. This means declaration. Later on another line, eventually, I can actually initialize it like this as well. So these are two parts: variable declaration, variable initialization. Even in this case as well, if I try to execute it, you can clearly see there's an error. No, let me remove this and execute it. You can see it's 10, right? Perfectly fine. But when we do both in a similar line, we say it's a complete variable, but we can actually define a variable like that as well in two different parts: declaration, initialization. Okay. So var a is equals to 10. But let's suppose I will go over here and I will try to redeclare it. So var a is equals to 20. Then I will simply go and cut this line of code and simply paste it. Now, guys, you tell me in the chat what will be the output of this code. So, what am I doing? Understand first of all what's happening here. Always understand what's happening. Whenever I am writing such line of codes, you can see in line number 1, I am defining a memory slot with the identifier A. Now on line number 2, we are actually defining the same identifier again. It's about same identifiers. Sagar says, what's initialization? Initialization means when you first time put value inside that variable. So when I wrote over there a is equals to 10, what does it mean? I am initializing it. I am initializing the values inside it. So as of now, if I execute it, you can clearly see if I execute it, you can see 20. Very good. I don't have any issues as of now. So if I have to conclude this statement, I would say that right now, whenever I define an identifier with a var keyword, it allows me to redeclare it. With var keyword, I can redeclare the same identifier later anywhere in the programming. Even after 1,000 lines, I can redeclare the same identifier. Very good. But let me try to reinitialize it instead of redeclaring it. By redeclaration, what do I mean? I put a var keyword in front of it. It means I'm redeclaring it. But if I write a is equals to 20, it means I'm reinitializing it. So is reinitialization allowed in var keyword? So if I execute it, you can still see 20. So it means when we talk about var, okay, when we talk about var, I simply mean we can reinitialize it. It won't give me an error. We can redeclare it. It won't give me an error with var keyword. Lucifer is asking a question, guys. How old are you? I am 15. Is it? No, it's not. JavaScript, there are people whom I know who are in 6th, 7th standard and they are starting. You can understand at least basics of JavaScript, Lucifer. Don't worry about it, okay? Just try to make sense out of it and practice as much as you can. So what is the conclusion here, guys? With var keyword, we can redeclare the same identifier and we can reinitialize it. Allowed. Let's go to let. Let me define the same identifier with let. Very good. And let us try to redeclare it. So if the variable is defined with a let keyword and I have redeclared the same identifier, and now if I try to execute it, you can clearly see it gives me an error. So are you able to visualize the first difference between var and let? Var can be redeclared, same identifier, but let cannot be redeclared. Okay. Okay. Sagar asked a very important question. Very good. This one. Sagar is asking that why is it giving me 20, not 10? Because I am accessing the variable after line number 2. Okay. That's why I told you JavaScript, the main definition is not discussed yet. It is single threaded, synchronous programming language, which we will discuss later on. As of now, just understand where am I accessing A? I am accessing A after 2. So once this is executed, then I am executing it. So it's updating the values of A. That's why it's giving me 20, not 10. But if I go here and if I write console.log A, tell me what will be the output of this line. So when this will be executed at that point of time, Sagar, A is equals to 10. But at this point of time, A is equals to 20. So if I execute, you can clearly see the first console gives me 10, second console gives me 20, because that's how it executes its code. Top to bottom approach, as of now, we can understand that. Thank you so much, Ankit. Okay. We are not talking about scope right now, Govind. Scope later on, because for that we need to understand what scope is. As of now, we are understanding from technically little bit, declaration initialization way. That scope and block level, function level, we'll be discussing that later on. Okay. So I hope this is clear. Now we were talking about let. Now, if my variable is defined with a keyword called a let, you need to understand you cannot redeclare the same identifier. If you redeclare it, it will give me an error. Very good. So let do not allow you to redeclare. But on the other hand, does my let allow me reinitialization of the same variable? So if I execute it, it allows me redeclaration. Sorry, reinitialization. So let allows me reinitialize the same variable, but not redeclare the same identifier. Remember that. On the other hand, when we talk about constant, constant means constant. Constant means that throughout the time, it cannot change now. Once it's declared, it is declared. Once it's initialized, it's initialized. Constant means neither you can reinitialize it, neither you can redeclare it. Constant, as the name itself says, mathematical constant, it will be always same. So constant, you can clearly see as soon as I execute it gives me error in both cases. Let's now understand it with a chart. Maybe there might be a little bit confusion. So I have a specific simple chart here. Okay, and in this chart I will create two columns with which I will write var let constant. Okay, number one part is variable declaration. So if I variable redeclare, is variable redeclaration allowed in var? Tell me quickly in the chat. Quickly. Is var allowed? Of course, yes. In var, variable redeclaration is allowed. Is variable reinitialization allowed? In var, of course, yes. It's allowed. On the other hand, if I talk about let, in let, is redeclaration allowed? No. Is reinitialization allowed? Yes. In constant, is redeclaration allowed of that identifier? No. Reinitialization? No. So this is the chart that you need to remember. Simple as that. This is the first basic difference between these three keywords. But remember, this is only 10 to 20% of difference. The main difference between var, let, and constant, and that serves the most use case of these three, is related to scope. Like while it can be accessed and whatnot. We will discuss that later on. But as of now, I hope this definition is completely clear. Am I clear, guys? I need a quick confirmation in the chat. Sir, this basic difference is completely clear. Tell me quickly in the chat. Quickly. And also, if you are, enjoying this session, and if you are if you respect the effort, please put a like on this video and also please subscribe. Okay. Thank you so much. Great. Clear. Perfect. Clear. Everyone, I can see only 2-3 clears in the chat, not more than that. Put a proper clear in the chat section. Okay. Perfect. Moving forward. Okay. Now, this is the basic difference, and I don't think you have to worry that much about it. Once you start practicing around it, you will completely understand all of these things. Okay. You will understand it. The JavaScript only requires practice. Now, there's one very important point that you need to understand here. Okay. Which is that when I define a variable, as of now, I have stored only one type of values inside it, which is number 10, 20, 30, or I can write 10.5, a float number, something like that. Okay. But what other values can I store in front of this variable in this memory slot? That's something that we need to understand. And for that, we have to start a very important topic in our JavaScript called as data types. Okay. So we have one very important topic that needs to be discussed inside our JavaScript called as data types. But by the way, what do we mean by data type? Like if anyone asks you, hey, tell me what are the data types? Like explain data types. What do we mean by data types? You can go on the internet, find its official definition. I'm not interested in that. But if you ask me, I would simply say whenever we do app programming, in order to solve any problem, we require data. Now, different types of data with which we have to deal as a programmer in order to achieve a solution is called different data types. Now, it can be a number, it can be an alphabet, it can be true, false, it can be anything. It can be set of numbers, it can be collection of lists, it can be anything, any damn thing. As long as we are trying to solve a problem with it, as long as it's required in our programming, we say it's a data. Simple as that. And then the same data is categorized into multiple portions. And we have two types of classification, two types of data types inside our JavaScript. Number one is called primitive data types. Number two is called non-primitive data types. So how many data types do we have? Two types of data types inside JavaScript. And by the way, where from we start this discussion? Because since we started this JavaScript, we have been storing only one type of data inside our variables, which is a number. But do you think there will be always numbers? Like we always have to do addition of numbers, subtraction of numbers, multiplication of numbers? No. It depends on our programming. Let's suppose you want to create a program in which you simply have to store your data, your name, your age, your gender, right? Is your name a number? No, your name is alphabets, a word. So we must find a way to store a word. When we talk about our, let's suppose, are you 18 years old? When we say, am I 18 years old? What's the answer to it? True or false? One or zero? So we must find a way to store such entities as well. What are your skills? You will say, my skill is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, Node, Express, and MongoDB. These all are list, collection of items. So we must find a way of storing such kind of data inside our identifiers, right? Now, whatever these different ways are, these different types are, they are called data structures. They are called data structures. Okay, data structures. Data structure means what are the different ways of storing a data inside memory, and how we can access that data, how we can manipulate that data later on. For that, we understand the efficiency of data structures. So there can be different types of data inside our coding. So number one type of data inside our JavaScript is primitive data types. Number two is called non-primitive data types. So let's try to understand these two types a little bit, not that deeply, but briefly. Number one data type that we have is called a number. Numbers. Number two data type is called strings. What do we mean by all of these? We will discuss them. Number three is called boolean. What is boolean? We will discuss that. Number four is called null. What is null? We will discuss that. Number five is called undefined. What is undefined? We will discuss that. Number six is called big integer, big int. We will discuss that. In non-primitive, the first one is called arrays. What are arrays? We will discuss that. Number two is called objects. And number three is called functions. If there is any student who have already studied some part of JavaScript from me, I always say one statement. It's my statement, my individual statement, okay? Which is, if you want to become a good JavaScript developer, if you want to become a good web developer, if you want to become a good backend developer, or if you want to become a full stack developer, there are two data structures, there are two entities in your JavaScript on which you should have very good hold. That is arrays and functions. If you as a fresher or if you as a developer know what arrays and functions in JavaScript are, trust me, you already know 80% of JavaScript. So that's why these two will be very important. And these two we will spend too much time on arrays and functions, on objects as well, but most time will be given to arrays and functions, okay? Because there had too many applications of arrays and functions, okay? And we will discuss them. As of now, let's focus on this part of our data type, that's primitive data type. By the way, what are primitive data type? Okay, we will discuss them. What actually the difference between primitive word and non-primitive is. We will discuss that in few minutes. As of now, what's a number? Hello, Rohit. Hi. What's a number? Okay. Number is anything that represents numerical value. Now, numerical value is not necessary, it will be a complete integer like 1, 2, -1, -3. No, it can be a float number as well. 2.4, 8.9, 0.2. It can be any kind of number, right? Whenever we talk about programming language, there are two types of programming language. This is also one kind of classification of programming language. Number one is, the number first classification is, It can be static typed programming language. Static typed. TYPED. Static typed. Another one is dynamic typed. Anyone in the class, do you know, guys, Java, or do you know C or any kind of such thing? Do you know such programming language? Tell me a quick confirmation in the chat. Give me a quick confirmation. Do we know C? Do we know Java? Right? I guess pretty much most of you already might be knowing that. When you define a variable inside your C or JavaScript, this is what we, C or Java, this is what we do. Int A is equals to 10, right? Something like that. If I have to store a variable, I write float B is equals to 10.56, something like this, right? Can I do something like this in Java or C? I will write int A is equals to 0.987. Can I do something like this? Of course not, right? Because this is a float decimal point number, and over here I am letting it know that this identifier will store an integer. So all those programming language, where we actually पहले से ही we let it know that what type of data this identifier is going to hold, it is called static typed. It's called static typed. Static typed means we have to let it know what kind of data I am going to store inside this variable. But on the other hand, you can clearly see over here, when I defined var a is equals to 10.4, did I, in this line of code, tell it that a will hold a number or decimal point number? Have I ever mentioned that anywhere? Of course not. I can write a is equals to 10. And if I try to execute this console.log a, it properly will work. If I execute it gives me 10 over in the output. If I write 10 point something like this and try to execute it, it also works. Even if I remove this and if I write true, let's suppose. If you don't know what true is, we will discuss that later on. If I execute it, you can see it works. So the same variable, without letting it know whether it has to store float, whether it has to store int, or whether it has to store character, or whether it has to store boolean, anywhere we directly put values. So all those programming languages are called dynamic typed. Dynamic typed programming language. You don't let it know that what I'm going to store, you directly store it. That's it. Now, is JavaScript static typed or dynamic typed? Is JavaScript static typed or dynamic typed in this case? Come on, guys, quickly. Dynamic typed, right? Dynamic typed. You don't mention what I am going to store, you directly store it. That's it. Okay. That is why when I wrote primitive data types, I did not mention there is numbers, there's integers, there is integers, floats, all those things. But I created one category of all the things that represent numeric values, that's numbers. So whether you write 10.5, whether you write 10.9, whether you write 10 itself, all of them come into a single category called as number. Let's try to see that. So I will go here, I will write 10. Okay. And if I try to execute it, I know it's going to give me 10 in the output. But let's suppose whatever identifier you have, you want to see what is its data type. In order to see data type of any identifier, we use a variable called as type of. So type of what? Type of A. So type of what? Type of A. And if I try to execute this, you can clearly see it gives me number. You can write type of A like this, or you can simply remove this A and you can put a bracket and write A. Both of them mean same. Okay. So if I try to execute it, you can clearly see it gives me number. It's a number data type. If I write similarly 10.5 and then try to execute it, you can again see number. But if I would have done the same thing in C, it would have given me integer and then float value, double value, long double, pata nahi kya kya, right? But over here, we can simply understand everything that's a numerical value comes into a single category called as number. On the other hand, what was the second primitive data type that I defined? It was a string. It was a string. What do we mean by string? All the information, all the data that is a combination of possibly alphanumeric combination is called a string. But I don't give that definition. Okay, I don't give that definition. I simply say that whenever we have to define or store a value and we store that value in a double quotes or single quotes, we call that as string. Whether it's a number set, whether it's an alphanumeric set, or it's alpha only set, whatever it is. But whenever I define a variable, let me try to comment this code. By the way, what do we mean by comment? Comment means that set of lines in our programming which our engine will ignore while executing this code. So if I execute this now, there won't be any output. Why? Because there's no code. Okay, there's no code over there. These are comments. So my engine will ignore it while executing this code. Okay. Let me define another variable where, and I will simply say str1 is equals to, and over here, as I told you, string can be anything. You can say set of characters. Some might say alphanumeric combination. Some might say words. Some might say letters. Definition up to you. But if you ask me, whatever we put in double quotes is called a string or single quotes. Let's suppose I will write Adfar Rashid. And then I will simply go write console.log str1. And if I try to execute it, you can clearly see it's Adfar Rashid. Very good. Let me go, instead of this, I will write type of. Type of what? Type of my str1. Okay. Type of str1. And in this case, if I execute it, you can clearly see it's a string. Now, guys, I have a simple question to ask you. Let's suppose instead of this Adfar Rashid, I will simply go here and I will simply try to store a number in it. Let's suppose instead of saying a number, let me simply store 1, 2, 3. Tell me, if I execute it, what will be the code? What will be the output? What will be the output of this code if I try to execute it? Anyone? Very good. Very good. I'm not others. I'm not saying console.log str1. Look at the code. I always say, don't go with your intuition. Take time and then answer. The console.log is type of str1. I'm not printing str1 directly. So if I execute it, you can clearly see it's a string. So even though inside double quotes I am writing numbers, but since it's wrapped by double quotes, it will become a string. The same string can be actually represented by single quotes as well. Remember that. This is a string. So single quotes or double quotes, both of them represent string only. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. Please explain. We will talk about NAN in a few minutes. Okay. So we are almost halfway through the session. So let's take a break now. String is string spelling, not sit. Okay. String. So let's take a break of 10 minutes now. Shall we take a break of 10 minutes? And exactly after 10 minutes, we are going to resume our session and we will discuss some very important things. Today's class is not actually about what JavaScript is. Today's class is actually understanding how to write basics of JavaScript. Once we are comfortable around that, then we will actually understand what JavaScript is. That's how I teach. Okay. And I think that is the most efficient way. So let's take a break of 10 minutes. Exactly after 10 minutes, we are going to resume our session and we will discuss a lot of very cool things inside our JavaScript. So let me start the timer and see you guys after 10 minutes. Don't leave the class. Make sure you stay here. Okay. Don't leave the class, please. Come on. See you guys after 10 minutes. Okay. Hey guys, hi everyone, welcome back. I hope I'm audible. Am I audible? Hello guys, hi everyone. I guess we can start our session again. Hi Adarsh, hi everyone. Hello guys. I hope I'm audible as well as visible. Perfect. I can see only 37 students here. Where are the rest of the people? Let me put a message in the WhatsApp group, although I guess I have already done that, right? Huh. Perfect. So people might be joining very soon. So let's start our session again, okay? So we have been discussing as of now the basic constructs of JavaScript, and we have discussed small things related to JavaScript. The main important things which we have not discussed yet. We are just trying to get familiar how to write a specific simple code in JavaScript. That's it. Let's suppose as of now, not suppose, but actually we have discussed five data types. As of now, we have discussed two types of data. Number one is numbers, number two is strings. Numbers is simply anything that represents numerical value. Strings are whatever we wrap in double quotes or single quotes is a string. What is the third type of value over here? Third type of data that we have in primitive category is called boolean values. Now, when we say Boolean, what do we mean by Boolean? Boolean means only two possibilities, true or false, yes or no. But what are the possibilities when we actually require such kind of data structures, where we need true and false? Let's suppose we simply are writing a condition, and in that condition, we are simply trying to prove something. Now, there are two possibilities only, true or false. So, in such situations, when we actually try to store something that represents any kind of these two states, whether it's true or false, we use Boolean data structure. So, in order to define a Boolean, we simply will define a variable with any name. Let's suppose bool is equals to true. Okay. Or we can simply go, let me try to write console.log bool here. And if I try to execute this, you can clearly see there is true in the output. But what is type of bool? That's something that you need to understand. So if I write type of bool here and execute, you can clearly see it's a boolean. Boolean means either it will be true or it will be false here. So there are only two possibilities. Whenever we have such requirement of data inside our data structure, we will use a data type called as boolean. Let's move to our fourth data type and fifth. Number fourth data type that we have is called undefined. Whenever we define our variable, and there's one very important thing that you need to pay attention to. I will define a variable like this, where a is equals to, and I'm not going to initialize it. I'm just going to declare it. And then let's suppose I will simply go write console.log a. Okay. And when I say console.log a, and if I try to execute this, you can clearly see this undefined in the output. By the way, what does this actually mean? I told you variable is divided into two parts, declaration and initialization. Whenever we define any identifier and we do not initialize it, in that particular case, we say variable holds a data structure called as undefined. It's yet to be defined. We deliberately keep it like that so that later on we can initialize it with some value. But I have a simple question here, one of the very important interview questions. Can I do something like this, constant a? What do you think? Can I do something like this, constant a? I'm going to keep it declared. I'm not going to initialize it. Can we do that? Is that allowed? Is that allowed? No, it's not. So when we say undefined, can my constant be undefined? That's something that I'm asking here. Can my constant be undefined? The answer is no. If you execute it, you can clearly see it says it must be initialized. There's a missing initializer. So if there's a identifier, you must initialize it. Can we do the same thing with let? So if I go write let a, I'm not going to initialize it. And if I execute, you can clearly see it's undefined. So this constant keyword that we have, when we define a variable constant, it must be initialized instantly. But if I deliberately keep it like that, we simply say it's undefined data structure. I hope that makes sense. This fifth data type that we have, it's called null. So when we deliberately, when our intention is to keep the identifier blank, in that case we use a data structure called as null. Now there's one very important interview question that might be asked from this. What is the difference between undefined and null? There's a very simple difference. There's a scope difference as well, which we will see later on. But as of now, if anyone asks this question to me, this is my answer. When we say undefined, our intention is to later on define it. Let's suppose I will simply say let a, and then after this I have actually written hundreds lines of code, something like this. I have written code lines. Maybe after that I have the agenda of declaring it. So undefined simply means as of now I don't know what I'm going to store inside this, but later on in the later programming I might update it, I might initialize it. But when we say, when we have null, null deliberately means I'm deliberately trying to make sure there's null inside it, a deliberate blank inside it. So that's what we mean by null. Am I clear between the difference? What is the difference between null and undefined? Am I clear with that? I hope I am clear, right? Perfectly fine. Very good. Moving forward to last primitive data type. Okay. Last primitive data type that we have is called a big int, but we don't use that usually, but it's asked in the interviews. What's a big int? When we define our data type like numbers, we can define our number like this. And if I try to execute this, you can clearly see it gives me a proper output. But let's try to add more digits inside it like this. Let's make it a big integer, a very big integer. And in this case, if I try to execute this, you can clearly see it gives me something like this: 4.1222, something like e raised power 21, something like that. It gives me a number representation like this. So this time, whenever you have a requirement of storing a very big integer inside your variable, we have a data structure that we might actually use. Though we don't have that many applications of it in web development, we actually put n at the last. What do we do? Whenever you have a very big integer, we simply put n at the last. With help of this n, now if I try to execute, you can directly see that number. So it's a big integer. Whenever you have a requirement of storing a big integer, though as I said, its applications are not that much, because even if you talk about web development, you will always see some limited numbers here, right? And even if I go right now and write type of, so type of a over here, and in this case, if I try to execute it, you can clearly see it's a big int. It's a big int. So that is the only thing that you need to remember. We put, whenever we have a requirement of storing a very big number, we put n at the last, and it makes my number as big integer. I hope that makes sense. Now we have seen all types of primitive data types as of now inside our JavaScript, and later on we will understand what is the difference between primitive and non-primitive, like why they are called a primitive, what is called by value, what's called by reference. Okay, we will see all of that things. Okay, but as of now, let's create a different file here. Okay, let me say I will go and try to make you understand a simple few basic operators, because someone asked me a question, what is NaN? Someone asked in the chat, what is NaN JavaScript? And it's a very important interview question as well. One thing, the entire agenda behind this course is to make you interview ready, right? To make you fit for placements, so that we can get any opportunity for you and you will be placed. So in this entire course, my agenda will be to actually, whenever I teach a topic, if there is any interview question related to that topic, I will also discuss that as well. So make sure you actually take notes of it. I always give this suggestion to my students: it does not matter how much intelligent you are and how much you understand in the class. It does not matter. As long as you are not taking notes, everything is in the vein. It goes in the vein. Simple as that. Okay. So please and please make sure that you take these notes on a rough copy, and later on you can revise it from there. You don't have to watch the video again. You don't have to give me watch time again and again. Okay. So please make notes as many as you can, and then revise through notes and practice as much as you can. Okay. Let's focus on operators. What do we mean by operators, by the way? If anyone asks you, explain operators, what do we mean by operators? Simply, whenever we have to perform an operation between two operands, like we have to do an addition. So 2 plus 3, 2 and 3 in this equation are called operands, operands. And plus is the operator. that operates between these two operands and yields a result. So it will always yield a result. Now, when we talk about this operand operator in between, there will be operand 1, there will be operand 2, and there might be operand 3 as well. And in between will go an operator. Now, whenever we talk about operator, it is supposed to do something. It will always do something. Now, when we talk about these operators, there are multiple categories of it. Like there are arithmetic operators, plus, minus, modulus, multiplication, division, so on and so forth. There are unary operators. We will discuss them. There are logical operators. Okay. There are bitwise operators. There are a lot of other comparison operators, right? And we won't discuss all of them, because if we start discussing all of them, they won't make too much of sense, because you will be using some limited operators inside your JavaScript. But we also need to make sure that we will try to cover these operators in limited amount of time. So that's what our agenda should be. As of now, let's understand some basic operators. As I said, I'm not going to teach you all of the operators. I'm going to teach you very basic and very important operators. Let me define a variable a is equals to 10. Okay, is equals to 10. Sorry, done. Where b is equals to 20. And remember one thing, if you want to put a semicolon after the line, it's completely up to you. If you don't want it, it's completely up to you. It's not like you might be saying somewhere sir is putting semicolon on other lines. It's not, he is not. So it's completely up to you. Okay, na? Whether you want to put the semicolon or not, completely up to you. The first basic operator is addition. So a plus b. Very good. If I execute it, what will be the output? The output is similarly 30. In a similar way, control C, control V, control V, control V, control V. The second operator that we have actually is subtraction. Third addition, arithmetic operator is multiplication. Fourth arithmetic operator is division, right? And the fifth arithmetic operator is, which people find a little bit difficult, is modulus. As of now, let's discuss all of these four. So if I try to execute this, you can clearly see 30 minus 10, 200.5, right? You already know what these operators does. I don't have to explain them. But what does this operator actually do? This simply means whatever the first operator and second operator is, if we put modulus, percent sign in between, it simply means divide a by b, and whatever the remainder is, give me the remainder. So if I divide 10 by 20, a proper arithmetic integer division, so you can clearly understand the remainder is going to be 10, right? Because 10 divided by 20, so 20 into 0 is 0, and remainder is 10. Yes, if I go over here and if I write 30, let's suppose, right? Then 30 is divided by 10. What is the remainder in that case? It is 10. So if I execute, you can clearly see remainder is 10. So modulus is simply a remainder operator. Divide a with b and give me the remainder. I hope that makes sense. A very simple operator. Very good. Now, there's one another set of operators which people find a little bit difficult to understand. They are called unary operators. Okay, unary operators. What do we mean by unary operators? Let's try to understand that. So let me go here, okay, and let me simply put a comment called as unary operators. Unary operators means they have only one operand. They don't have multiple operand, only one operand. What do we mean by those? Let's discuss first of all post increment. Let's suppose I will simply write console.log a plus plus. Have you seen something like this? A plus plus. This is called post increment. If I try to execute this, what do you think will be the output? Tell me the output in the chat. A plus plus. What will be the output? A is, by the way, 30. So when I say console.log a plus plus, what do I mean by that? First of all, a plus plus means addition by 1. Okay. So if I execute this, what will be the output? Govind says 30. Okay. 31, Ankit. Okay. 31, 31, 30, 31. Okay. Very good. Very good. 31. Very good. Very good. So I can see 31, 30. Few people have written 30. Most of the people have written 31. If I try to execute this, you can clearly see it gives me actually 30. Why? Because listen to what the name of the operator is. It's called post incremental, which means पहले इस्तेमाल करो फिर विश्वास करो. मतलब जहां पे आप इसको यूज कर रहे हो ना, implement it over there first, use it over there first, and then increment it. Which means Where I am using this A over there, it will be implemented first. It will be accessed first. So at this point of time on line number 4, when it is accessed, what is the value of A? It is 30, and then it will be incremented, which means for rest of the programming line it will be incremented. So if I simply go write console.log A at this point of time, so over it is pehle istemal, then addition. But which means over it will be properly added. So now if I try to execute this, you can clearly see on the next line it's 31. So A plus plus means first assign, as Hari Kishore has written, first assign and then increment. So first assign it there, first access it there, whatever its original value is. So if I'm writing it over here like this, something like this. So A plus 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 3, something like this. What will be the output? This question was asked to me something like that in an interview. What will be the question to it? And I was a fresher. At that point of time, I answered incorrectly. I told 31 plus 3. It's not 31 plus 3. It's not 31 plus 3. It is 30 plus 3. So पहले इस्तेमाल करो, whatever its original value is, use that first and then increment it in the later coding. So over here, A plus 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 3 means assign it, do the operation, then increment it for later purposes. So what will be the output of this code line, guys? So of course, if I execute over, it will be 33. It will be 33. I hope that makes sense. That's why it's called post incrementer. On the other hand, let me simply go right plus plus A. So this plus plus A means पहले इस्तेमाल, first no पहले add करो and then इस्तेमाल करो. This is what it means. First increment, then access. Plus plus A means pre-increment. First increment, then use it. So in this case, if I try to execute this, what will be the output of this code? Anyone? What will be the output of this code? There are wrong answers that I'm getting. That's why I'm asking. Very good, Govin. What will be the output of this code? Very good, Kavya. Very good, Ashu. Everyone, very good. That's why I always tell my students, don't go with intuition. See what's happening over there. If I try to execute this, you can clearly see it's 32. Why? Because this line is already executed. It already made it 31. So when it reached here, it was 31. So 31 plus 1 is 32. So it's 32. Does it make sense? 32. Why it is 32? Because there was post increment in the first line. So it made it 31. Then a pre-increment. So 32. So 32 is this. Everyone, I need a yes or no. If you want me to repeat, I will repeat. But I need a yes or no. Am I clear? Am I clear? Am I clear? Very good. I can see few response in the chat. Okay, I hope there's a difference between this A plus plus and plus plus A. There's clear difference between it. Okay, let's move forward in a similar way. If I write console.log A minus minus, what does A minus minus mean? And if I try to comment this line of code here, what will be the output of this code if I try to execute it? Repeat, let me repeat it. Some people are saying repeat, so let's repeat the previous thing. Let me try to uncomment this. This is what it means. Let's try to focus quickly, okay? Because if you understand this, A minus 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 A will automatically be understood. When I write A plus plus anywhere, it means A plus plus means post increment. And whenever we say post increment, it means first access, whatever the value is. So whatever the value over there at that point of time, A is access it directly and give the output. After giving the output, then increment it by 1. So A plus plus mean if you access the value of A is 30. So 30 plus 3 is 33. Is that clear? Very good. Then it gave us 33 in the output, but once it gave the output, then it will increment it. So A will be incremented. So A will become 31. So when this line of code is executed, A became 31. In output is 33. Then this will be executed. Once this is executed, it means pre-increment. Pre-increment means first increment, then access, then console, then access. So first increment, so 31 plus 1 is 32. So that's why 32 is in the output. And then you can simply see the output. I hope now this is clear. What A plus plus and plus plus A means. Is that clear? Very good. If that is clear, quickly tell me in the chat. If that is clear, quickly, guys, tell me in the chat, because you have to relate it with the same concept here. If I simply go and check it here, what will be the output of this code? Quickly tell me. I can see few people are saying 30, but I want all of the 48 students to tell me in the chat what is the output of this code if I write console.log a minus minus. Very good, very good, very good. It should be 30, right? Because a minus minus means first access it and then decrement it. It's post decrement. So that's why if I execute it over here, you can clearly see it gives me 30. But does it mean A is still 30? Does it mean A is still 30 if I try to access A on the next line? No. At this point of time on line number 6, it is 30. But if I try to access it on another line, in that case, it will become 29. So that's why if I simply go write console.log A, and then if I try to access it, you can clearly see it's 29 in the second line. But if I write now pre-decrement, minus minus A, what does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? Minus minus A. And what will be the output of this code, by the way? Come on, I need this answer. If you are able to answer me, I will say that I have made you understand what this is. What will be the output of this? Kavya says 28, Arka says 29, Ankit says 30 and 28. Very good, very good. So it won't be C executed. So when this was executed, it printed 30 in the output, it made A 29. And when this was executed, at that point of time, A was 29, it will post decrement, it's 28. So if I try to execute this, you can clearly see it's 28, not 29. 30 and 28. I hope that makes sense as well. Now, there's one another type of unary operator. And that unary operator is called, let's try to console this. Okay. And I will simply go here and I will simply say console.log plus A. What does plus A mean? And even if I try to execute this, you can clearly see it prints me 30. But what does plus A actually mean? Let's suppose this A that I have, it's not a number, it's a string. Okay, it's not a number, it's a string. And let me try to execute it. So if I try to execute it, it gave me a number 30, not string 30. So when we put plus in front of A, it actually tries to change the type of it. So it does a type conversion of A. If it is a string, it will make it a number. So plus A means if it's a 30 string, it will make it positive number integer over there 30. That's what plus does. Now there's one topic that we need to discuss in our tomorrow's class, which is called type conversion and type coercion. There are two topics related to that. Type conversion and type coercion. One of the very important things related to interviews as well. And trust me, recently I gave at one place one of the interviews. Over there were 3 questions that were asked from type coercion. Okay, what will be type of, let's, instead of doing this, what I will do is I will simply go and simply say let B is equals to this. Okay, and then if I simply say console.log type of B and try to execute it over here, and if I execute, you can clearly see it is, what is it? Identifier B has already been defined. Okay, identifier B is already defined. So let me create C. So now if I try to execute this, you can clearly see it's a number, right? Because that's what I said it will type coerce it. But what does coerce mean? I did not say type convert. I said type coerce it. What does coerce mean? We will see later on. But as of now, you just have to understand when we say plus, it simply tries to implicitly change the type of my A. If it's a string, it will make it a number. I hope at least that is quite clear, right? Moving forward. Now there are some other type of operators. Sir, it is B. No, it is C. Sorry, my mistake. Type of C, right? So if I try to execute this, it will still be number, right? It's the same. It's number, okay. I hope that makes sense. So now if I try to execute, let's move towards one another set of operators called as comparison operators. And when we say comparison operators, what do we mean by that? Such operators that compare 2 operands with each other, or 3 operators, or whatever the operands are. Okay. For example, I will simply go here and I will simply try to compare 2 things. Let me try to control X this and let me try to paste it here. So I have 2 variables here, var A, var B. Number 1, variable A is a string, variable b is a number. Okay, and I want to compare these two. I want to see what is the relationship between these two. Now whenever you try to compare, it simply means I'm trying to compare a with respect to b. Now you tell me, if I try to compare myself with another one, what will be the output? Which data structure? Will it be a number? Will it be a boolean? Will it be a string? Will it be a null? Will it be undefined? Or will it be big integer? What do you think? Like I am telling it, is a equals to whatever the equals to is b. There's only one possibility. Either it will be true or it will be false. Is a greater or equal to 10? It will be either true or false. Is a less or equal to b? True or false? So comparison operators, when we talk about it, it actually yields one type of data structure that we have, and it's called Boolean data structure. Okay. So let me go here. Let me simply say console.log. The first operator that we will discuss is called a is greater than b. Is it true, guys? A greater than b? Is it true? Is it true? What do you think? This is something that is very interesting here. What do you think? What will be the output? Is A greater than B? What do you think? If I try to execute this, you can see it gives me true. But should it give true? Should it give true? No, it should not give true. Why? Because if we talk about logically with common sense, A is a string and I am comparing string with a number. Am I saying anything wrong here? A is a number and string B is a number, and I am trying to compare string with a number. It should not happen. But that's why I said there's a type coercing happening, which we will discuss in our next class. As of now, I will try to make it very simple. I will try to make it a number as well. So I will try to compare both of them same. When you do such operations, it tries to implicitly जबरदस्ती कहते हैं ना कन्वर्ट करने को, उसको हम टाइप कोहर्जन कहते हैं. Okay, but we will discuss that later on. It should not have given me true, but it will give me true, of course, because that's how JavaScript works. It will give me true. It will try to convert this string into an integer and then try to perform the comparison. But let me, at this point of time, make both of them same. So, of course, it is true. In a similar way, greater or equals to is equals to, of course, this is true. In a similar way, less or equals to is equals to b, of course, this is false, right? So on and so forth. So greater or equal to, and you can find a lot of other operators, right? But there are two comparison operators which are very asked, in the interviews, very much asked. Like at 90 to 95% times, this will be asked. Number one operator is called double equals to operator. Okay, number one operator is called a double equal to. But in this case, let me try to make both of them same. So A is equals to 20, B is equals to 20, right? And if I try to execute them, of course, when we say A, is it equals to B? The answer is of course yes, because both of them are 20, you can see 20. And if I try to make it 30, since both of them are not same, values are not same, it will give me false. But let me make it 20 here, and let me even try to put now triple equals to. And instead of double equals to, I have put triple equals to here. And if I try to execute this, even in this case, it gives me true. Very good. But then what is the difference between double equal and triple equal? That's something that you need to understand. When we write double equals to here, let me make it a string. In this case, it simply checks the values of two operands. It will not worry about data type. Like it will simply compare the value of A with the value of B. And it will completely ignore the data type of A and B. So in this case, if I try to execute this, since values are same, it will give me true. But on the other hand, if I put triple equals is also called strict equality, strict comparison. It means it will not just stop at value, but it will check both the data types as well. And according to this particular structure, do you think both data types are same? Of course not. Both data types are not same. One is string, another one is number. And in this case, if I try to execute it, you can clearly see it's false. Double equals to, note it down, conclude this. Whenever between two operands there is double equal to, it will just compare values of two operands, not its data type. But when we try to implement triple equal to between two operators, it will compare values of two operands, not just that, but also make sure if both the data types are same or not. So that's why we say triple equal to is a strict equality operator. Am I clear? This is one of the very important interview questions for freshers, not for seniors, but for freshers. This question is very much asked. What is the difference between double equaled and triple equals? I hope that makes sense. In a similar way, we also have equals, whether A and B are not equals to each other. Okay. So we have equals, of course, it's false because they are same, right? But let me try to make it 30 here. So in this case, they are not same. So it's going to give me true. And there's also a strict equals to here. Strict equals to. So even in this case, though they are not same, but it's not equals to B. Of course, A is not equals to B, and that's why it's giving me true over here, right? So this is what we have, set of comparison operators here. Moving forward, I hope we are completely clear. All the 50 students, am I clear with operators? Actually, this comparison operator, the difference between double equal and triple equal in JavaScript, one of the very important interview question. Okay, I hope I am clear, and I can see only 5 to 6 people very active in the chat. Not all of that. That's what I hate, honestly. Whatever you need from my side, I will always give you that. Okay, always. You want me to change the timings, we might think about that. We can talk, you want me to take a discussion for 3 hours, I can do that as well. But the point is, I want you to be interactive with me. Show me some positive response, and make sure, if you are enjoying this session, put a like on this video. Put a like right now. Subscribe this YouTube channel. Okay, please do that. Okay, moving forward. Now, there's one another set of operators that we will discuss now, and that is called logical operators. Okay, logical operators. So let's discuss quickly logical operators. Okay, trust me, these operators discussion, I don't find it very mandatory and very important, if you ask me, from the JavaScript perspective. Yes, if you are learning any other imperative programming language, in that case we have to understand JavaScript operators one by one. But if you ask me related to JavaScript, since we in web development try to implement declarative approach, so that's why I don't find these operators that much important. But let's still have a, because there might be a lot of students who might be learning programming first time. That's why I'm going a little bit deep in this discussion. Otherwise, trust me, I would have ignored operators. Let's try to understand logical operators. But before that, even before logical operators, let's understand one very important thing called as bitwise operators. Okay, bitwise operators. Though bitwise operators applications in web development is not that much, but logical operators are used like every single time. Whenever there's a condition, we most of the time, 80 to 90% time, use logical operators. But to understand logical operators, let's understand bitwise operators. Only for one reason, because it's asked in the interviews. That's it, nothing else. You won't be seeing that much application. In my 5 years of experience, I have created a lot of web applications for a lot of clients. Okay, and I have used once or twice bitwise operators. Even I don't know right now for what purpose. But let's understand bitwise operators properly. Let's say where A is equals to 10. Okay, where B is equals to, let's say, 20, some random numbers, whatever it is. Then I will simply go right where A, and then I will write and B. Okay, which means there are two operands, and in between I am putting something, right? And even in this case, if I try to execute it, you can clearly see there is some output, though there is zero. Let me not make it zero. Let me make it some output. Let's say 15 here, or let's say 16. Okay. And if I try to execute this, now you can see 16 in the output. But how does it give me 16? What is this? It's not addition. I would have said, okay, 16 plus this is this. No, it's not subtraction, division. But what is it? For that, you must have a computer background. That's why if there is any student who do not understand it, it's completely okay. Okay. But for all other students who have a little bit of computer knowledge, they will properly relate it with these operators. Let's understand these operators. Whenever we talk about anything in computers, we know that every single thing is represented inside computers as binary numbers, which means when I actually write where A is equals to 16, for me, this 16 is a number. But for computer, it will be something like this: 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, something like this. Bunch of zeros and ones, right? Binary system. Whenever we have to represent any entity, there are different types of systems in which we can represent a number: binary number system, octal number system, decimal number system, hexadecimal number system, so on and so forth. When we say binary means there are only two possibilities that we can use, either 0 or 1. When we say octal, there are 8 possibilities: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's it. You don't have 8 and 9 inside our octal system. When we say decimal, we simply have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So all these possibilities, we can write any combination to represent anything inside our decimal octal system. Now we can clearly see this is a decimal octal system because I can write 29. If it would have been octal, I would have not been able to write 29. It's a decimal number system. Now, when we have to convert decimal to binary, we have to understand how that can be done. And let's try to understand that. There are proper mathematical analogies behind this. We have proper, ways. We divide every bit with 2, so on and so forth. But I will give a shortcut here because this is not a computer architecture class or digital electronics. This is programming JavaScript. You simply have to write 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. And you can similarly go beyond it. It's usually we have 32-bit representation number, we have 64-bit representation number, 8-bit, 16-bit, depends on our architecture. And whatever number you have, let's suppose my number is 33. Now we have to find among these, in a similar way, it will go 128, 256, 512, so on and so forth. So these are two powers: 2 raised power 0, 2 raised power 1, 2 raised power 2, 2 raised power 3, 2 raised power 4, so on and so forth. These are all those numbers. Whatever number you have here, try to find among these particular entities what numbers you will add together will yield this. So 33, of course, 32 plus 1. And there's only this possibility that will yield 33. There's no other possibility. So all those numbers you will make 1, and rest of them will be 0, 0, 0. So this is how 33 decimal number is represented in a binary system. Am I clear? Another example. Let's suppose I will have 19. Now, when we say 19, according to these numbers, which collection of numbers you will add together will yield 19? So, of course, you cannot add 8, 4, 2, 1. It won't yield 19. There's one possibility: 16, 2, and 1. So, 16 plus 2 is 18. 18 plus 1 is 19. So, make all of those 1, and this 1. And rest of the numbers will be zeros. And if it is 32-bit number, you will add 32 until 32 zeros left side. And that won't matter. But this is how you represent your decimal number into binary system. So 19 is 10011. 32 is 100001. In a similar way, let's try to represent, let's say 27. Now, what's 27? 27 is 16 plus 8. 16 plus 8 is 24. 20 plus 4 plus 3 is 27. So 1, 1, 1, 1. The rest of the bits will be zeros. So this is how you can represent 27 in binary system. I hope that makes sense as well. Now, when I actually implement any operation here, when I write bitwise, it simply means this is a bitwise operator. Whatever number I will write here, so A is equals to 16. So if I have to convert it into a binary number, so I will write 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, so on and so forth. Now, according to 16, you only need this entity. So this is 1, rest of the bits are 0. Right? Very good. Rest of the bits are 0 like this. Okay. Now 20 is of course 16 plus 4. So this is 1, this is 1. Rest of the bits are 0. Okay. So this is how you can represent 16 in the binary system. This is how we will represent 20 in the binary system. But now when we put AND in between of it, this is what AND operator means. If there are two bits, A, B, there are two possibilities only. A can be 0, B can be 0. A can be 0, B can be 1. A can be 1, B can be 0. A can be 1, B can be 1. Whenever there is an AND operator between A and B, if both the bits are 0, 0, output will be 0. If any of the bit is 0, output will be 0. Any bit 0, output 0. The output will be 1 only under one condition: when both the bits are 1. That's it. So AND operator means the output will be high only when both the bits are high between two operands. Now, according to this and this, can you guys tell me, if I am performing AND operator, what is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, and rest of the bits will be 0 here. And if you convert this binary number into a decimal, you can clearly see there's only one bit high, so it is 16. That's why output is 16. I hope this makes sense. Let's understand one last example here. Okay, let me change the numbers here. Okay, because 16 is very basic and I don't think you will be able to properly understand it with this example. Let's try to make a complex example. So I will simply go write 37 and then b is equals to, let's suppose, 36. Okay, and if I try to execute this, you can clearly see no 30. Oh, you can see 36. Very good. Let's make example of this. So let's try to convert this 37 into bits. So 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, so on and so forth. Let's try to convert 37. So 37 is, of course, 32 plus 4 plus 1. Yes or no? Right? 37 is 1, 1, 1. So 5 plus 37. So rest of the bits will be zeros. So this is how computer will convert this 37 into binary numbers. In a similar way, when we talk about 36, 36 is 32, this and rest of the bits will be zeros. Now, in this case, if there's an AND operator, means output will be high only when both the bits are high. So this is not, yes, this is both the bits are high. This is not, of course, this is, because this is high and rest of the bits are zeros. Now, if you convert this binary into decimal, so this is 32 plus 4 is equals 36. That's why output is 36. I need a quick confirmation in the chat section whether we understood what bitwise AND is. Simply, the output will be high if both the bits are high. Am I clear? Am I clear? Yes or no? Am I clear, guys? Everyone, quickly. Very much clear? Perfectly fine. This is what we mean by AND operator. On the other side, there's one another type of operator that we have. It's called OR operator. So let me simply Control C, Control V. There is in between of AND, I can put OR. This khada matra. Okay. What does OR operator mean? It simply means there can be two possibilities: 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. Output will be high. Output Y will be high if one of the bit is high, either one of the bit or both the bits. So 0, 0, no, 0, 1, yes, 1, 0, yes, 1, 1, yes. So OR operator means even if there's one bit high or both bits high, output will be high. So 37 is represented into 1, 1, 1. The rest of the bits are 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. In similar way, 32 is 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Now, is either bit high? Yes, so output is high. Is either bit high? Yes. Is either bit no? No. Is either bit yes? And rest of the bits will be 0, 0. So this is 32, this is 4, this is 1. So 37. So if I try to execute this, the OR operator will actually yield 37. So that's what OR operator means. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So let me conclude this bitwise operator here. Whenever we are implementing AND operator, only single AND between two operands, it will convert those operands into bits and then implement bitwise operator, like bit with respect to each other bits. That's why it's called a bitwise operator, because operation is happening with respect to bits. On the other hand, when we now implement AND operator, it simply means output will be high. Output will be 1 only under one condition, when both the operands are high. On the other hand, if the operator in between is OR, it means either bit has to be high to give the output high. I hope that makes sense. With this, we will wrap our today's class, okay, and we will try to continue our class in tomorrow's session, okay, and we will understand logical operators tomorrow. But before we end up our today's class, let me share the addends link, and also I have a small request, okay. I hope you understand that what this batch is actually about, okay. Variable declaration. Whenever, see, this is what variable declaration means. Before I conclude this, let's try to solve that problem. This is how we define our variables. Var a is equals to 10. Yes or no? Now, this is complete variable, but we can similarly define the same variable into two categories. I can simply keep var a. Okay, I can declare the identifier. This is called declaring a variable declaration. Okay. But is there any point of declaring this variable like this, Suryansh? No, because a must contain a value. Maybe later on, after 10, 20 lines, or after one line, or after any wire, I will define a is equals to 20, or a is equals to adfar, or a is equals to true. So this is what we mean by initialization. So I'm initializing a value inside the variable. I hope this is This is what your question was. Okay, I hope you have answered this. Okay, so thank you so much, guys. I hope you have enjoyed the session, but I have a small request. If you respect the effort from my side, and if you think I am giving the best I could, I have a simple question. Okay, simple request, not question, request, which is to please and please put a valuable comment. Okay, please put a valuable comment. Once this video ends, all the comments that you put right now, they won't be visible in the comment section. So please make sure you put a valuable comment once this video is ended. Okay, I request all of you that. Also, if you have any doubts, please make the WhatsApp group active. There's a WhatsApp doubt group that we have. I have not shared the link with all of the students, but there is. So I will share that. And please make sure you submit that and you ask the doubts. So if you respect the effort, please put a comment after this session ends over there on the YouTube and share it with your friends and family. Let people know that there is a course like this on the internet live for free. So that's the only thing that I need from your side. And rest of the things you can leave on me and I will give you the best content I could give. Okay. So thank you so much, guys. Give me the feedback of today's session in the comment section quickly. Give me the feedback. Quickly, guys, give me the feedback of today's class. Perfect. I can see few feedbacks, not all of them. Perfect, guys. I can see only few feedbacks in the comment section. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for watching this session. Please make sure you join tomorrow's session on the same time as well. Till then, keep practicing and share your love in the comment section by subscribing and sharing this video and liking it. So thank you so much, guys. See you in the next class. Thank you so much. Bye. Bye, everyone. Bye. Google Classroom ID, Kavya, means you have joined the Google Classroom, right? Whatever your Google Gmail name is, so that I can find you later on the Google Classroom. So that's what you have to write there. Your Google Gmail ID name. If your name is on Google Kavya, write Kavya there. That's it. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Thank you so much, guys. Bye, everyone. See you in the next class tomorrow. Thank you so much. Bye.